Composting copies what happens in the natural world. The composting process works to decay organic material by providing the ideal conditions for organisms to thrive and for them to do their job. Composting means taking plant materials like grass, flowers, hedge clippings and other composted materials such as cardboard and paper and piling it up in a special bin or homemade container where it will rot down over time. The end product will be a nutrient-rich heap that when mixed with soil, for example, can help grow crops, plants, shrubs and trees. When home composting, there are 4 key ingredients that are needed to be successful. These ingredients are air, water, and a supply of green and brown materials. A compost heap will only work well if the balance is right between all 4 ingredients. Air helps provide the space in a compost heap so that it can breathe. Turning a compost heap is important as it reintroduces air into the heap when it becomes too compact. Turning also helps break up materials that may have matted over time. Water is essential in a compost heap. If the heap is left to go too dry, then the microbes will become inactive. If it is too wet, the nutrients will be washed out. Ideally, when a handful of compost is squeezed, it should release a couple of drops of water. Greens refers to the organic waste that is high in nitrogen. They are essential in retaining the heat in our compost bins. Greens can include such items as food scraps, vegetable peelings, grass cuttings, garden weeds, hedge clippings, flowers, coffee grounds, tea bags, fresh leaves and other garden waste. Browns are carbon-rich material and are the main food source for the microorganisms in our compost bins. They consist of dry leaves, hay, straw, shrub prunings, pine cones, wood ash, newspapers, shredded paper, cardboard, sawdust, paper bags, eggshells, vegetarian pet waste and also vacuum waste. Anything that won't naturally decompose, like plastic, rubber or metals, should not be put in your compost bin. Most of these materials can be recycled instead. The most important materials to avoid while composting are meat, fish, dairy products, or any cooked food like rice or pasta. Avoiding these types of items will deter vermin. Any non-vegetarian animal waste and diseased plants should also be avoided. During the time that you are composting, the activities in your bin will go through 3 phases. These phases are known as the warm, cool, and mature phases. The temperature and the heat plays an important role as it helps organisms eat more food and reproduce at a faster rate. The average temperature of a home compost bin should be between 70 to 90 Fahrenheit or 21 to 32 Celsius. In the warm phase, the heat increases in the compost heap where there are microorganisms like bacteria and fungi present. Each time fresh materials are added to the bin, the temperature increases. During the warm phase, microbes, bacteria and fungi break down the green materials. The energy they provide raises the temperature, which encourages more bacteria to become active. When all the green materials have broken down, there will be no food left for the microorganisms, which means that they will begin to die. This causes the temperature to cool down. Wood-degrading microorganisms then move into the heap and start to break down the carbon, which warms up the bin again. As the temperature cools right down, invertebrates like centipedes, woodlice and beetles move in and help break down the material further. The The mature phase allows earthworms, insects and mites to move into the bin. The material will look dark brown in colour and will have an earthy smell. Large pieces of material, such as twigs, will still be visible. A mature compost heap is often not completely lifeless, and worms and insects will continue to work in the heap and stabilise it. It takes about a year or so for the compost at the bottom of your bins to be ready to use. You can extract the compost from the hatch at the bottom, or you can lift the entire bin up. If you lift the bin, you can then move the uncomposted materials at the top to a new bin or area and start the process again. Once your compost is ready, it can be used for a range of things. Finely sifted compost can be used for potted plants or dressing lawns. Bulky compost can be added to soil as a conditioner and will continue to mature and add valuable nutrients. You can also use it at the bottom of potted plants to cut down the amount of bagged compost that you may buy. There are 3 common issues all composters face at some point. However, they're easy to fix. Here's what to look out for. Does the compost have a bad odour? The problem is there's not enough air in the heap. The solution is to turn the heap or add coarser material. Is the centre of the heap dry? The problem why the centre of the heap is dry is because there's not enough water. The solution is to add water to wet the heap, then turn it to let the water through. Is the heap damp and sweet smelling but not heating up? The problem is lack of nitrogen or green material. The solution is to mix in some greens such as fresh grass cuttings or fresh manure.